Let me ask you something before I start my story. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt something was wrong in your relationship or marriage, but you couldn't prove it? Or maybe you ignored the signs because you didn't want to believe the truth? Because that was exactly where I was. And let me also ask you again, what would you do if you start suspecting your partner was cheating on you, but you had no solid proof? Would you confront them immediately? Or would you stay silent and watch carefully? Story time. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Here we'll bring to you amazing real life stories you can learn from. Alright, so do not forget to hit the red subscribe button. Turn on your notification bell so that whenever I drop amazing video like this one, you'll be the first to get notified. Let's go guys. When I got married, I thought I was entering something very beautiful. I thought marriage was supposed to be about partnership, love, trust, and building a future together. Can you imagine being so sure about someone that you believe nothing can ever break that bond? That was me. I believe in my husband completely, and I never thought I would one day sit down and tell this kind of story. At the beginning, everything looked perfect. We were happy, we laughed, we made plans for the future. People even used to call us the perfect couple. Have you ever been in a situation where someone around you would think you are lucky, but inside everything is about to change? Because slowly things started shifting, not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly. And let me also ask you this. Do you know the most dangerous kind of change in a relationship? It is the one you don't notice immediately. My husband started coming home late. At first, I didn't think much about it. He would say he was busy at work, and I believed him. And then I started noticing something else. He became very protective of his phone, too protective, and that was my real warning sign, but I ignored it because I didn't want to be that suspicious wife. I didn't want to create problem where there were none. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, and I started feeling a distance between us. Not physical distance, but emotional distance. He was there but not really there. You know that feeling when someone is sitting next to you but it feels like they are far away from you? That was my life. Then one night changed everything. It started with a simple notification on his phone. The phone kept lighting up again and again. And I remember sitting there thinking, why is someone testing him so late at night like this? I didn't plan to check his phone. Honestly, I didn't. But something inside me pushed me and I finally looked. Then my entire world changed. Because what I saw was not just a message, it was a conversation, a relationship, a secret life I never knew existed. Romantic messages, emotional words, plan, affection, everything that would have been mine but was being given to someone else. But I didn't do anything after seeing those messages. And this is where my story became different. I stayed silent, completely silent, not because I was weak, but because I needed clarity. So I made a decision that night. I decided I would not confront him. I would not show him my pain. I would not react emotionally. Instead, I would watch, I would observe, and I would gather the truth slowly. I continued my life normally. I cooked, I smiled, I spoke like nothing was wrong, but inside me, something had changed forever. And that was the beginning of everything, the beginning of silence, the beginning of my strategy, and the beginning of a story that would later change my entire life completely. I had seen messages, I had felt the distance, but I still needed confirmation. And deep down, I kept asking myself one simple question: what if I was misunderstanding everything? But the truth has a way of repeating itself. And in my case, it didn't stop. The messages kept coming. The secrecy continued, and his behavior became even more careful. So I started paying attention to everything. I began noticing the time he left the house, the excuses he used, the sudden urgent meeting, the time he smiled at his phone when I was not looking. Then came the confirmation I didn't want. One night, he left his phone unlocked. By mistake, I saw everything. Not just messages, but plans, meetings, names, details. A full second life I was never part of. That night, I didn't sleep, but I didn't confront him. Do you know why? Because I realized something very important. If I react immediately, I would only get emotions. But if I stay quiet, I could get control, and I choose control. So I did something he never expected. I started documenting everything, every pattern, every inconsistency. I was not just a wife anymore. I became an observer of my own marriage. And while I was collecting clarity, he continued living like nothing was wrong. That was the part that hurts the most, not just the betrayer, but the confidence of the person betraying you. Then one day, I made a decision that changed everything. I contacted a lawyer quietly without telling anyone. The lawyer listened carefully to everything I had to say. And then he said something I would never forget. He said, "You are not emotionally confused. You are strategically exposed to betrayal. And now you must protect yourself properly." That sentence changed how I saw everything. From that moment, I stopped thinking like a hot wife and I started thinking like someone protecting her future. I secured my documents. I reviewed financial details. I prepared myself mentally for separation. But internally, everything looks normal. Then something unexpected happened. His mother called me. She spoke quietly at first. She said she had noticed tension. She said I should not destroy my marriage. She said every man makes mistake. And she asked me a question I will not forget. Do you want to leave your home just like that? And I stayed silent because I already knew my answers. But I also knew something else. This was no longer about emotion. It was about decision. Days passed, then weeks. The legal process slowly began shaping everything, not loudly, but correctly. And while everything moved forward, my husband still believed I was staying. He still believed I was broken but royal. He still believed I would forgive eventually. Because silence is not empty. Sometimes silence is preparation. Sometimes silence is strength. And sometimes silence is the final stage before freedom. And then came the final phase, the moment I stepped away completely. No argument, no public fight, no emotional breakdown, just distance and legal clarity. Everything was finalized. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe properly. Not because I won, but because I was no longer living in confusion. But today, I look back in everything. I don't feel hatred. I don't feel revenge. I don't feel anger anymore. I just feel clarity because I learned something very important from this experience. Love without respect will always break you. Trust without truth will always collapse. And silence, when used wisely, can protect your entire future. So, if you are listening to my story right now and you are in a situation where you are confused, let me ask you one final question. Are you staying because there is still love or because you are afraid to start over? Because sometimes the hardest decision is not leaving someone, it is finally choosing yourself. And that was how I stayed silent while my husband cheated, then took everything back from him legally, and finally got my peace back. This is a real life story from one of my followers. Right, so whatever you think about this story, please drop it in the comment section. And do not forget to hit the red subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so that whenever I drop amazing video like this one, you'll be the first to get notified. See you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.